Okay, good evening everybody. My name is Michael Mason from Plus My Reach, and I'm joined this week by Ryan J. Rhodes, who you will know from the last couple of broadcasts that we've done, Laurie Lazure, and we have Irene Williams with us this evening. One or two of you may know her, and she'll be coming on in a second. We'll be introducing her. This week we're going to be talking about the all-important pitch letter, the proposal letter, and it was a genuine question I asked in the comment stream there. I actually do not know what a pitch letter is, so I'm going to hand over to Laurie and take over the technical. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, nice to meet everybody. Nice to see everyone again. Yeah, we were talking before in the green room too about it. It's different for everyone. A pitch letter should be different for every brand. It definitely should be something that expresses what you can do for the brand, not what the brand can do for you. And it has to be sort of a unique approach to solve a problem, really, is you notice something that a brand is doing, or they have something in specific that they're trying to do, and you want to address it with your audience. And it's a good fit for your audience. So Irene has done this many times. Irene actually owns her own PR agency, so she's done that a lot of times, so we'll be talking to her about tips. Irene, what is your first tip, and I have my own, but what is your first tip too for finding the right point of contact? Because that's the thing that I think everyone struggles with, especially if you're not familiar with this process and understanding, you have to try to probably find the PR agency you need to work with or the brand you need to work with. What do you do when you want to reach out to the right person?
Something you and I have sparred about briefly is starting with social media. Twitter is a great place. I know you know this well, to start a point of entry. The person that's manning the Twitter feed may not be the actual person you need to speak to, but they're more than likely going to have that direct link. And then another place is to, if you're doing research, is to start with a website and find the marketing manager or someone in marketing's name, at the brand. That's going to be a right point of entry for you as well. But again, it's a little online sleuthing, which these days isn't terribly hard to accomplish, to find that right point of contact. And trust me, finding the right person is going to be a big deal. A lot of times, folks will want to circumvent maybe the PR or marketing firm that represents a client. But I know in my corner of the world, usually if they get a direct link to one of my clients within a company, that client bounces it right back to me because they're busy, and that's just the nature of the beast. So don't feel like you're too far down on the chain of communication to start with a PR or marketing firm that represents a brand. That could very well be the most effective way, and eventually you may have to work with those people anyway, so you want to start off on a good foot as you begin the process.
I agree. I actually think for the most part, we work mostly with PR agencies, so I prefer to work with a PR agency and find out who the PR agency is first, because they usually are handling the social media, because of, one wrong tweet can land a company in some really hot water. So we know that a lot of the PR agencies are handling the social, and this is live as well. So it's something that I think a lot of brands will want to work with agencies on. Don't you think?
I definitely think so. Again, that's why they have the agency, to help them make wise decisions and filter and discern what's going to be the best path for their brand. They've already entrusted that line of thought with the agency, so again, I would definitely respect that chain of communication. I think it's a wise approach. The decisions may come down to somebody internally within a company, but let your process of communication begin at the right place.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing, because it's this brand name, but then how do you know who the agency is? And that's why Irene said a great point, which is going on the Twitter feed, especially because Twitter is live and a live interaction, and in many cases you can make some big mistakes on Twitter and it can cause major problems. We've all heard of all the problems companies have had over the years where they said the wrong thing on Twitter and it either cost them a job or the company is in huge trouble. So a lot of companies do handle it through a PR agency, and it's a great place to reach out and say, hey, I have this really great idea. I run a live streaming show. I think that would be really a perfect fit for your brand. I'd love to be able to propose something. How can I reach out to you? Can I be on your DM? Can I DM you for a second or something like that, so that you can sort of say these things and tell them a little bit about what you want, and then ask for a point of contact, ask for an email. And quite often they will. I mean, I've worked with major brands who, yes, here's who you need to talk to, here's their email. And they just pass it off, and it's up to you from that point to get into the pitch letter. What are you going to say? What are you going to do? How are you going to get them to come on as a sponsor of your show? And sometimes it starts with even just how do you want them to show them what you do and how you do it and how great your audience is and what a great fit they might be for that brand. So the very first thing, if I were pitching one of your clients, what would you want them to come to you with?
Well, first and foremost, it's kind of like pitching the media. You want it to be a personalized pitch letter. You want it to be customized in such a way that I know you've thought about who I'm representing, the brand that I'm working with, that it's not a fill in the blank and you just, pulled out somebody else's name, someone else's brand and placed it in a standardized letter. I want it to be very specific to what I need to do, and a huge part of that is that you've spent enough time to educate yourself to know what we're about and what the brand proposition is and why you might be a good fit and a good partnership for that brand. So starting very specific and very personal is important. And I will warn you, it will be time consuming. So pick your top 5, that you really want to connect with, or your top 3, and do those right rather than trying to do, a scatter shot across the marketplace. So again, I want to know that you know who I am and what we're about, and then I need you to be succinct. I don't need a lot of verbiage. I don't need a ton of information until I'm more intrigued and need that kind of data. So start with the right kind of intro that gets me interested from the get-go. And that may be, for a lot of the folks participating and listening today, some key points about who you are online and why there's a connection. So that was kind of a long answer to tell you.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. That's exactly what I would do too. I mean, one of the great points that you said was make it personalized, and that's so true. If you go into the company's website, look at their About Them page. Usually they're listing their top things that really matter to that company. So if your brand, if your web show is all about, eco-friendly, and their brand is, eco-friendly brand, that's a way that you have that connection. If you have, a great international audience, and a lot of their shipments are international, then that's a great fit. So it's more about finding a good fit for you too. I mean, find a fit that works for you, and then that makes a lot of sense that they would want to use your product.
And
Hey, Lori.
Yeah, Ryan.
Michael asked a question. He said, "Is it just me, or do others not know what a pitch letter is?" So could you guys just give a very quick?
Why don't you answer that, Irene?
Yeah. Okay. So a pitch letter. That is kind of old school terminology, I suppose, because most of this is going to happen by email. It really needs to happen by email. So it's an introduction letter. It's your chance to kind of sort of peddle your wares in a way. So you're pitching an idea to somebody who will receive it. But if that
hello?
Hi, it seems like we've lost Irene for a second there, but I'm sure she'll be back in a moment.
Yeah.
The gremlins are in the system. But I was actually really curious myself, what is a pitch letter? I remember old school.
Yeah, it's not really necessarily a letter. It's always in an email. But it's knowing that you have the brand's goals in mind and presenting a plan. Because they don't have a ton of time, and they want to work with reliable people. And I think it's all about trying to find what will work for them. I mean, most brands, unless you've really, really established yourself, and believe me, this will happen as you establish yourself, brands will come to you. they find your show, they think it's a good fit for them, they're going to reach out to you, they're going to ask how you can work together, and they're going to ask you for a proposal. But other times it works out that you're approaching them first, and that's what this is.
Okay. I had another question. Length.
I will agree with Irene. This first email should be short, and it should just say, I have a media kit. Would you like me to send it, or I've attached my media kit if you'd like to take a look. But I wouldn't necessarily get into all of your data that you include in your media kit. I would just talk like specific little points that make you a good fit.
Yeah.
And what you have in mind. And
okay.
Let them get interested before you start talking pricing, before you start talking what the parameters are going to be, because that all gets sort of negotiated after.
Okay. Yeah. Welcome back, Irene.
So sorry. Don't know what happened there, but
it happens. It's live.
Yeah.
We just had a surprise guest join us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miss Mia.
Say hello to everybody, Mia. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Hey guys. How's everybody? I'm on location actually, so it might be a little bit loud. I just finished a show, so.
Ooh, fun.
Well, it's great to come along. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. How's it going? I missed part of it, so.
Well, we were just covering pitch letters, the introduction letter, and,
yes.
In my naivety, I don't even know what one is, and we were talking about that.
I love that you can admit it and just say, hey, teach me.
Yeah, teach me, Now, somebody's asked who our mystery guest was, Irene, because there'd be quite a few. Irene's probably very well known on other platforms, but not so here on GooglePlus. And as Ryan said, sorry?
That will change.
That will change.
Hi, Irene.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Yes.
Yeah, I think she's going to start to be a staple item on GooglePlus.
Yay!
I'm getting my technology rocking so I don't get booted off. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Irene. I have a company called Message to Market, digital marketing, social media, and PR. I happen to have a strong niche in the commercial and residential design industries, home and building products as well. I also do a lot in healthcare IT, randomly, go figure. And on behalf of brands, I'm often the voice of brands, me or my team. We're constantly posting, tweeting. We do traditional PR, and we help with anything that would be considered digital marketing, email campaigns that support other things we do. So, but I'm been around long enough. I come from the days before there were the interwebs. So traditional PR, marketing, and I started my career as a copywriter in an ad agency, by golly. So I know from whence we've come and how all those same principles apply even today. So as we talk about a pitch letter, humorously, it's often really not a letter, more likely than not, and please actually, by all means, let it be an email and not a letter. No one will see it. So
right.
That's the era in which we live. So, hi.
Can I pipe up about something really quick?
Please do.
Regarding the letter thing, I mean, this is just something that I did. I mentioned it on another show we did recently, Irene, but my wife and I recently finished a project for Jack Canfield from Chicken Soup for the Soul, and we tried, the email route, and it was, very difficult. So I actually sent a certified letter, priority mail, so they had to sign for it. So I knew that they would see it. So
will pay attention to me.
Ryan with the strong arm, I like that.
Yeah. So, but I definitely would agree that, I'm much more about the quick emails. But if that doesn't work, there are other options if you get creative.
There certainly are. Yeah.
I agree with that too, but I think Irene, even though there are definitely you can go further and do other avenues, it's very important to know who the right person is.
Yeah.
So you could be sending this information to the wrong person. Like sometimes you're sending it to the company, and the company doesn't handle it, and it just will get thrown away because they don't handle it, and it's just not information that they care about because it's not their job, you know. So they'll
deflect or ignore. Yeah.
You can potentially alienate that company too if you're following up. They're like, who is that guy that keeps calling? Like, you know, so you have to. You can send it the right way to the wrong place.
It was funny because doesn't have to do with pitch letters. My husband's company, there was a guy applying for a job to work with him, and he really wanted the job because he sent in a mail like this whole like presentation with like little joke type thing, like with his employee card already kind of like laminated, and people were creeped out. And he did not get the job, and they were really like, whoa, this guy took it you can try too hard.
Don't be that guy.
You look like a psycho.
Yes.
I see a question that's come in about would we suggest listing key benefits to the brand in this first contact? And I would say yes, artfully done. This essentially is kind of a sales pitch, but you need to approach it more conversationally, I would suggest, because you need to earn your place and you need to earn the attention of the brand. Because let's face it, the brand has existed without you, presumably, up until this point, and perhaps they already have budgets defined and they have a program rocking. So why in the world should they pay attention to you? And in addition to being personal and customizing your hello, to get into here's a few reasons why you should pay attention to me, but again, not doing so self-servingly that it's off-putting. I don't think that's a bad way to go at all. I mean, you need to, again, in the effort to be succinct, you also have to get to your key points, and benefits to the brand certainly count as key points. So yeah, don't hesitate to artfully start trumpeting your own horn, but without doing so, as I mentioned, in an off-putting way, but just so that they understand who you are and where you're coming from.
I have a question to that, Irene, to clarify it, and this might have been covered last week, but you know, we talked about the marketing packet. Would you want to just lead them to that information that's in the attachment?
Yeah.
So that you're not, would that be a good way to handle it too? That's what I've done too, is just say, hey, and without the marketing packet being too lengthy that they have to dig through it, right?
Oh dear God, what have you done? Yeah. So I mean, draw up those maybe 3 to 5 key points in the body of your email, and provide links, you know, to anything online that would support that, easy click-throughs. But yes, also offering, you know, that media kit, that additional information, keeping everything handy throughout my career. One reason, because I'm not like your traditional PR schmoozy type person. I've just always come at it as, if I have relevant information and I want someone to cover it, and I'm pleasant about presenting it, and I make their life easier in telling the story that I want to share, then I'm going to win. So I would apply those kind of principles to what we're talking about here today, just making their life easier, so that they have an understanding that you're going to be cool to work with from the get-go, you know, that you're not going to overcomplicate. So yes, having everything handy is plenty wise.
Yeah. And don't you think, Irene, I have another question too, don't you think that brands are starting to get really interested in GooglePlus for the live streaming platform? I hear it more and more in our industry. Our industry is we're coming more from the design industry, but we hear it more and more from the brands. They like heard through their IT guy that they should be on GooglePlus, and they're starting to understand that video has a big hand in SEO. So these things are now becoming more common knowledge, and we're not having to sell it as much. But do you think that that's true?
I think there is still somewhat of a selling process. It's going to vary by industry. I just happen to come from a meeting with someone who has a background in the materials handling industry, vastly different from interior design or healthcare IT or anything like that, but it's, you know, schlepping pallets and stuff. And she said even in that industry, she saw the evolution from Facebook to GooglePlus. Because that industry in particular sells a lot online. They understand the value of SEO. They know the power of Google, and so Google Plus, in the evolution process, was happening pretty rapidly. That folks were turning attention there, and they felt like their messages were getting heard better. So yeah, so I think there's still a dance. There's plenty of people who make decisions who are still very tied to Facebook or just Twitter because those are the ones they've actually become familiar with and they're comfortable with personally. So perhaps the education is you might not be using it personally on an everyday basis, but the people who want your product or need your message are. And that's where it starts to happen.
That's a great education piece. I like that. It's not,
and
you may not be, right.
And what it would do for them, like right now, too, like Mia, you do your show with Chef, and you have restaurants, and you send out a message about people giving them a review right away on their Google Local, which will boost them immediately in search. And those kinds of things, they don't even, sometimes they don't know that yet. They're not IT people either. So
well, I should probably show you real quick. I literally just finished a show with Chef, and you have to see what's sitting next to me. This was everything from what they just fed me, and so we got to showcase all this wonderful food online. And then there's people. Yeah, it's all sitting here teasing me, to tell you the truth. I've been trying to nosh at it, but it's been wonderful because the people that were here, we had people from the UK, we had a woman from Toronto, and they're all excited, and they're going to go leave a review, just saying, when I get to Denver, that's where I'm going. So it's pretty fun to see, and then to kind of see the light in their eyes when they heard Chef say, "Hey, everybody, go leave a review," and they got so excited, and they have a page, a local page, but haven't used it. So I'm pretty excited to see where it goes with that, of the igniting part.
It will do a lot, because I know that I give reviews to some interior designers, and I've given a review to like a lamps company that went from like 60th to 3rd in one review in their local listing, which is huge, So
yeah,
they look at that.
Did you see me drink a mojito? I wasn't sure if you saw that.
There's something else about Google Local which I discovered because, as you guys know, I design websites, and one of the things everybody wants is to be the top of Google. Well, the easiest way without paying is to get a GooglePlus a Google Local listing, so that when people are searching, they find you. But you pricked a memory from a few months ago. I was doing some research for a local customer, Mia, and I used Google Now on the phone, and I was stood in a particular location, and I just said, restaurants. Now, Google Now knew where I was because of the GPS location, and it showed me the nearest restaurant with the highest reviews. There was actually a restaurant closer, and I had a look down the list, but the closer restaurant was further down the list because it had fewer reviews.
Mm-hmm. That's actually something I've talked to we had a hangout on interior design community with David Amerland, and he said eventually he sees, with more voice command searches, that there will be, because I talked again about this review, is get your reviews, please, because it does boost you. And he said he eventually sees that you'll do a voice command and you'll get one restaurant. So that fact that that's already happening is kind of crazy. I didn't know that. Yes, it's just immediately you get the one with the most that has the most reviews. I think that's awesome. Yeah. And that actually matters even to big companies that have multiple locations like that. I mean, you can think about every single chain that has multiple locations. They still want their local reviews. They still want to be up in search for every single location.
Right. They recognize the importance of it, even just with the local guy driving by, like Michael.
Yeah, yeah. If I look and say, what's the best restaurant, and it doesn't put the one that's right, 4 doors down, it puts one that's got the highest reviews in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't want to be that guy?
Absolutely.
So
Howdy, can I ask a question about that real quick?
Yeah.
Because I set up at least I thought I set up a Google local thing a while ago, but I don't understand, like, how do you establish that? Is that with your business page, or, I mean, I'm kind of confused.
It's a pretty complicated process. We can kind of get into that later, but
Yeah.
it is a complicated process because it's changed. You know, before GooglePlus, it used to be with, like, you'd have the Google businesses, you know, Google local businesses, and now it's moving over to GooglePlus local.
Right.
Okay.
So,
I'll explain the process in 30 seconds if I can.
Okay.
Google Plus page
Yes, please.
linked to your business via, strangely enough, a little postcard. And you put the code into the Google Plus page and it produces the Google local listing for you. Very simple. But it can take, well, I'm on a rock in the middle of the Atlantic. I've seen it take 2 months, 3 months, and even then it's not guaranteed.
Have they circumvented the postcard? Because I remember being very shocked how old school that was.
They text now also.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That makes life easier.
Yeah, because I remember being
there's
like,
also a process where, like, you if you have an old account, they automatically gave you a Google Plus local, but some of the new accounts are getting a business page, local page combined. So
in fact, I'll tag a chap on the event page that does a lot of work on this on Google. I keep seeing his posts coming up, and one of the things that Google, I hope and I think are working on, is a way to have franchises have multiple listings and make it easy, because apparently it's not very easy to do it if you have multiple locations.
It's not. I've done it recently for a client. It's a pain. Yeah.
I just found mine, so.
I'd be very interested in knowing more about that, Mick, because of all these restaurants now. I mean, that's the one thing I'd love to just give them a quick education on it and say, hey guys, you know, here's the best way to leverage all of that, because even I was confused by it. So not that that's a big stretch, but you know what I'm saying.
I'm not going to go into details, and certainly not on a live broadcast. You guys in the States have Yelp. In Europe, we have TripAdvisor. And believe me, the system can be gamed very easily. But one thing I
can tell you that no one knows yet that they have I mean, you can search right now in your local area for interior designers or something like that. Most of them don't even know that they have a Google Plus local page. Most local businesses don't know. And so the ones that do step on and get those reviews, and if you're in Google and you're searching, you know, you used to be able to get Yelp reviews. You don't anymore. It's all Google reviews. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what's at the top.
I was just going to mention that you know, there's a big debate over the review system and how easily it can be gamed. But I mean, I've been doing website design for a few years. I can't seem to find an easy way of gaming the Google Plus review system. So they've probably looked into it in a lot of depth.
Mm-hmm. I think so, but I mean, I think that they're doing a lot of different algorithms. Like, based on what David Emerland has told us, that it's not necessarily just like who reviews you. It's not just how many reviews you have, but also who reviews you. So if it's somebody that is really, you know, somebody who would know a lot and has a lot of authority in that section. So if I review a restaurant, it's totally different than if a famous chef reviews a restaurant, because he has authority in that area, and his word means more than my word. You know, same thing. Like if Oprah, or someone famous reviews something, it's different. It's like, and it's like when Oprah has her favorite things, it sells out like crazy. But we should probably get back to pitch letter. That's we got a little off subject.
Very helpful though.
So my first process usually is when I find out the person. Sometimes I'm going in kind of cold where I don't know necessarily what they want, but I try to find what I think they would want based on what they're pushing out lately. So if they're pushing out a lot of different products that match something, I'm going to tell you something I did recently. I actually did reach out to Logitech online for Ronnie Binzer because he uses the Logitech. He mentioned he uses Logitech, and I found out who the PR agency is, and I'm going to formulate something great for him. But what I was trying to do was look through their streams, look at what they're sharing. They're sharing a ton of information about their new online keyboard for their web keyboard. They're sharing a ton of information about their camera. Not their webcam, but their remote control, their new universal remote control. But a lot of it had to do with streaming. And I could see Rodney Vincer could talk to them about streaming, and he, very, very quickly could establish that relationship, and that's how he could kind of put those dots together. And I think that that's what it's about. It's doing your research, reading what they're sharing. How do they fit? How do you fit with them? What can you offer them? And what can you do that would bring a different audience? And I do think that brands are kind of impressed with the whole live streaming thing. They're a little afraid of it because they worry that you will say something that will hurt their brand. And that's giving that power to someone that they don't know very well is very difficult. So you want to make sure that you really, really show them how professional you are. But I think that they're excited about the possibility of how just cutting edge tech this feels. I mean, this does feel really cool. We're all in different areas. I'm in New Hampshire. Where are you, Mia? In Denver?
Denver, yes.
Michael is in the Canary Islands, and we're all sitting here on a Hangout talking, and that's just
right.
So cool. Everybody knows that. That's really cool.
That's a really good distinction, Lori, about, and I balance it myself, so you want to have the professionalism for sure, but you also need to have the authenticity, and I'm using that as an example for myself because I have an irreverent way of doing things, but that's my style as well. So I make sure that I'm very clear about, who I represent, and then that's going to attract that sponsor who says, I like your style, but that's a great point. You're right. They are taking a chance because it's not editing. I mean, it's going out, and yes, you can maybe edit the YouTube later, but in general, I mean, it's live. It's right there.
Right, and they're not only trusting you, but they're trusting everybody you align up to be on the show. So
exactly, and your audience if you're not controlling the audience comments that you read or something. So there's a lot of variables to it.
I do think that they're used to trolls. Especially the bigger brands, they've all been knocked around quite a bit online. So I don't think that they necessarily care about the comment stream. But if you had someone like swearing or saying something off-brand on this video, and you're representing the brand, it would be very bad. Very bad.
Right.
So you have to be very careful that you know and you trust the people that you have on the screen. And I know I've watched Hangouts where people have let people on that they didn't know, like people in the audience. I know you don't do that, but I have seen that happen in the past. And I've also seen people who said that they were doing it, they were trying to get on shows to like prank shows. So be very careful who you bring on, especially if you're representing.
Or be very adept at booting them extremely quickly. So there's a lot of different variables to that too. You could have a variety show like I do with the Power Chat, where it's guest and topic, and then the audience as well. And I don't do that. But if you're going to do that, you have to be very adept at or have a production assistant that's going to just yank it and pull any pictures or pull or anybody that jumps on. So I agree. You gotta be good at it. That was a good visual, Mick. I saw that.
And I can say, we didn't do it this way, but we actually started these shows in the very beginning, talking about graphics. And instead of just talking about graphics and not offering anyone that knew how to do it, we had Ryan on, and Ryan was able to offer packages and immediately made sales from our discussion about graphics. And that's the same thing that your brand will do. If you have that show really tight, then they'll show the immediate benefit from the show.
Right.
And they'll be so happy that they did it that they'll want to come back for more. And sometimes that's like the key too. Sometimes maybe you want to have the brand on as a freebie at first. Like, I'll bring you on. I really love your product. I know our audience would love your product. I'd love to interview you. And maybe that sometimes for the brand, that's actually the first great intro where you can just have them on as a guest and talk about their product and how it's so great and different things you can do and do a tutorial for your audience. And then, say, I'm a host and we do have sponsors and I'd love, to continue working with you, and then start showing them the media kit instead of immediately asking for that kind of remuneration relationship.
Sure, especially on the bigger ones. I'd say on a smaller one, no, because then you'd just be giving it away all the time.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, thanks, and then you're sitting there doing stuff for free and advertising for free. But choosing it wisely, it's like, okay, this looks like a good big fish, right?
Yeah. Someone that would want to work with you again, right? Irene, you can go.
Yeah, I would say that's something really important to think about, because I know I've been approached before, and you can tell the motivation is really not, I want great content for whatever I'm doing. It's, you seem like you might have money in your budget for me. And I understand this is all a business scenario. I totally get it. But I do want to know that there is proper motivation behind somebody knocking on my door. Again, acknowledging it is a business relationship, but also I want to know that they genuinely are interested in what my brand or my client has to share. And if that means bringing somebody into maybe a panel discussion or something that is truly editorial and not paid, I wouldn't shy away from that. As Mia said, you could train some brands that it's always going to be for free, and you have to be very wise and discerning about that. But in many instances, maybe part of the process of earning your opportunity is to show them how great it can be. I mean, for me, back, we still do Twitter chats, and sometimes we sponsor them because we've seen how great it is to just simply be part of a chat, and then to have your brand aligned with it in a different, deeper way that has measurable value. So it's the same principle applying here for Hangouts. Somebody can show up and be a part and see the value, and then eventually, be convinced. So don't hesitate. Yes, Ryan.
Just a quick thing. Mia has to dump out here.
I was going to say the same thing. Mia has to be going, so we have a huge announcement. We're going to do it here on this show because it's pretty fantastic. Michael, why don't you do it? Because you're.
I got to get my Google effects out.
I get to speak. I'm just so busy producing. What do I do? Okay. We said in the newsletter, and we've been alluding to it for probably a week or two now. Laurie and I have been working hard at pushing Plus My Reach. I've been hard coding, but the problem is we need other people.
Do you want a drum roll, by the way? Because I could bust
it. Yeah. Go on. Yeah, let's have a drum roll.
Oh yeah.
It's my favorite one.
We have been having private discussions offline, online with both Irene and Mia, and I'm really pleased to announce that today we finalised a partnership agreement between us, and we now have Irene and Mia on board, Plus My Reach, helping us. Sorry? So Mia is going to be working with us primarily on GooglePlus, and Irene on other networks. And that's one of the reasons why we had Irene on the show this evening. But she, as everybody knows, she does run her own PR agency. But it was a really nice fit to be able to make the announcement on the show. I, for one, am not just a little bit excited, really excited, because you cannot do this alone. You can't do anything like this alone. There are things, and as Laurie knows, I know my limitations. I will not go into graphic design. I saw what Ryan did for us for Plus My Reach. I've seen what he's done for others. I would not even touch graphic design. There are companies that we would like to approach, and I have a collar around my neck, a virtual collar around my neck. Do not approach these companies, because as good as I am from a technical point of view, unfortunately, when it comes to making sales pitches, no, not me. So I just want to say thank you very much to Irene and to Mia for agreeing to be a part of the team.
Thank you.
Michael, we can chat after the call. I want to talk to you about some stuff too. So.
Okay, cool.
Ryan's like, me too.
I was thinking it's funny that Michael's like got the Charlie's Angels.
Everybody flip the hair. You ready? And
well, I can't. But
I do have to break out here because they're waiting to bust my giant table of food that I'm going to have about 4 to-go boxes to go. But I am really excited about this. I've been actively on active on Google Plus for about a year. And, you know, everybody knows that partnerships are great and collaborations, but you have to choose wisely and carefully.
Yeah.
And I kind of had to wear an adult diaper when I made the decision because I was so excited. I was like, this is a great group of people. Everybody, like you said, Mick, we've all got our strengths. And we're all bringing a strength to it. And it marries so well with what I do anyway. So I'm a lucky girl. Yay.
No, thank you very much, Mia. It's been really great having the discussions, and I've been chomping at the bit, you know, to make it public, and it's really great. Now it's like, wow, it's out at last.
I feel like I should change my Facebook status in a relationship.
There you go.
I have to say, I met Irene through Laurie a few weeks ago, and her credentials, very impressive. I mean, before you even
that's
meet
another reason
Irene,
why I was excited. So
yeah, Irene's a pro. So and she brings
on part of this team so very much. Thank you.
And this isn't your first tech startup either, Irene. So this is going to be, you know, easy for you. Well, not easy, but it'll be, you know, something you've done before, which is great.
Yeah.
this is not girlfriend's first rodeo.
New.
And now, Mia,
All right.
I can approach depends. Because you
It's not the first time I've actually talked
Right?
about that. I really do think I should.
saw that interaction and the cohesion of our hangout with Depends. Love
It'll
it.
be a depends
I love how
moment.
you always think.
When me is exciting, I'm excited about something. It's my depends moment. So, all right, guys, I'm out. I'm gonna have to give you my plus my reach fist bump. I know.
We missed
Sorry.
you already.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. Bye.
thanks, Mia. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So exciting. Yes. So
Yeah.
we're all going to be bringing a lot to the table. Irene, she's, you know, traditional PR person, so she gets it. She knows how to bring us to the next level, make it something that is bigger. I mean, we love Google Plus. We definitely want to market onto Google Plus, but getting out there to some brands who don't know about Google Plus would be great too. So
Exactly.
yeah.
I personally, I mean, I've discussed this with Laurie. There are a lot of people on Google Plus using Hangouts who probably are not aware of Plus My Reach, and when they become aware of Plus My Reach, will probably grab it with both hands. But the bigger problem, as I see it, is that there are many, many bigger brands out there not yet using Google Hangouts or Google Events. And it's kind of for me, it's a long education process to show them what Google Hangouts are, how they can work. Oh, and by the way, yes, we can provide metrics as well. We can provide analytical data. I was watching a video that somebody pushed my way regarding big corporations, you know, household brands who give charitable donations, you know, and we're talking in the hundreds of thousands, millions in some cases. They even want measurability on that kind of investment. So if they want measurability on charitable donations, imagine what they would need if they were doing live broadcasts.
Exactly.
Yeah. They want data, and we'll talk about that too after we do our reporting session. But Irene, you can confirm because you're the person who definitely knows, and I can you know assure you can trust all these. You can tell all these people that yes, brands do measure. Like that's the first thing they do is if you don't have a measuring tool for your product, they're less interested because they want to know what the results will be.
And truly, and if we're still talking pitch letter, you know, having some of that data to include in your introduction to quantify what your Hangouts do, it's going to be very powerful. I can't tell you how many times I've been approached by not necessarily Hangouts, but say a Twitter chat is a more common scenario at this point in my world, and I ask for information like, what's the traffic on your blog, what's this, what's that, and surprisingly, a lot of folks still aren't measuring those tools, even though they use them actively all the time. And as I try and make decisions and get other folks to sign off on money that might be spent, they're asking for those numbers consistently.
Numbers are important. I think that, I don't say that they're the most important thing, because I definitely think if you have a great show and it has like a set key group, and that's the group that the brand really wants, it's super ultra targeted to what the brand's audience, they don't need huge numbers, but they do care so much about numbers, don't they?
They do, and the fact that you would be savvy enough to track those numbers is going to say something about the quality of what you're bringing to the table. And I'm with you. I mean, in terms of, it doesn't have to be massive numbers, it has to be a meaningful audience, and part of that is tracking it. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing Plus My Reach also has, where you have a list of who your engagers are. So if you went to like an interior design community event, you would see, like, they would look at the brands that were involved, they would look at the people that were involved, and they'd recognize some of them, and it would make sense that they might be a good fit. And I would say the same thing for your show, is that you probably have a brand out there that would recognize some of the people in your audience, and maybe that's where it would be a good fit.
Right.
The other key I was wanting to say too is, as we bring on, as Plus My Reach does bring on more brands, as in Irene's role, we'll be doing a lot of that. The brands are going to maybe want influencers to work with, and so also we will hopefully know whose show could be a good fit based on who's doing what down the road, and we can kind of run some keyword search within our own data and help kind of hook people together.
Mm-hmm.
I see that definitely as a possibility down the road.
Yeah, it's kind of curious from a programming point of view. I've written the core code for the system, and we've worked with others to develop other elements of the system, because it's simply too much for me to do everything on my own. And as more data comes in, we realise more things can be done. A good example which I keep using is the gender. We decided to put the gender split into the report because I wasn't even aware how many people put gender into their profile in Google. So when I queried the API and I said, oh, just give me the gender, let's just see if the information's there. 80 to 90% of the people in GooglePlus put their gender. So we already know if somebody wants to go on somebody's show, all they have to do is run a report and they will find the gender split. So they know, well, I've got a more male-orientated product, maybe that show's not a good fit. But here's one where it's 80% male. Oh, wow,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. But and you can even drill it down further after the first pitch that you put out there, because one of the things I like to do is ask the brand also, you're going to make assumptions based on everything that they're doing, and you're going to do a really thoughtful presentation about what you think you can do for them in a short, succinct way. But then you're also going to ask them questions like, what are some of the goals you typically ask for? When we tend to do this later on in the process when we're talking about doing an actual, proposal. But we will ask them, what are your goals? So are you trying to get more, Facebook followers? Are you trying to, even on Google Plus, are you trying to get Google Plus likes? Are you trying, follows? Are you trying to get, someone to, even someone to review your local location? What is the end goal? And, sometimes you can get a custom little URL that they can track it, and they can see that they got some traction from your event.
Absolutely.
If you care about it, they will be impressed. They'll know that it's building that trust, that you care about what matters to them. You care about treating them the right way and making sure that their goals are met. Then they're learning to trust with you. Now, Irene, this is something that I think is really, really important we haven't covered yet. But once you work with a brand once, how much more likely are they to work with you again?
Well, if it goes well, they're very likely to work with you again. They're going to go back to who they know and where they know results happen.
And where they trust, too. So it's like all those things. If you can fulfill, don't promise what you can't really do, but get in there, offer something great, and then really follow through with it and show results. And quite often they'll want to work with you over and over again because they can trust you.
It's a carved path, and we all tend to stay on the paths we're familiar with.
Yes.
And so they're gonna have a sense of how well it went in the moment, but any kind of reporting that you can do to support that just solidifies that relationship. It justifies the investment in the endeavor and the time that it took to be part, and it gives them legs to go back to other people who give blessing and sign off and plan strategy for the next year as well. And
right.
Before I forget to say it out loud, since we have been talking about pitch letters, I would also be cautious of the timing for your pitch letters. I think it's important to remember that people make budget decisions. I mean, fiscal years can vary dramatically, but you know, be aware that by the last quarter of the year, folks are starting to look, you know, at the next calendar year to make decisions. So I would start carving that path, or at a reasonable time for somebody to make sure that their budget could accommodate what you might have to offer. If we get something in the middle of the year, for a lot of my clients, decisions are already made, and we just kind of stick with what we've got. So bear that in mind, you know, as you reach out to folks, that there's timing that could be pretty essential as well. So, you know, just to bring that to your thought process.
I think that's really important. And then further on that, it's having that set plan, especially with GooglePlus Hangouts, and understanding that this year could be really a pivotal year to reach out to some of the major brands, especially as they're coming more and more onto GooglePlus and understanding more about live streaming and Hangouts, to establish that relationship. Because once brands find the group of people they like to work with, they tend, like you said, they tend to work with them again. So it's a perfect time now, as we're reaching into the summer and towards the end of the year, to start looking and researching who fits your brand and then presenting it in a really great way. I think it's actually perfect timing to be doing this.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely.
Research.
Yep, it takes
I think we're pretty much done, unless we have any questions. Michael, do you have any that we haven't covered, you think?
No, I'm just ruminating on the fact that, you know, I'm feeling all intimidated by working with such great-looking girls. You know, it's a hard life, you know. But I know my strengths. I can code. And you know, I nearly said something I shouldn't on a live broadcast. I can code, and I know I can code. But you know, it's like we were saying earlier. You're relying on your strengths, and I think being able to stand back and say, "Okay, I need help with this." And curiously, I've got a very, very good friend over on the Book of Faces who works as, he calls himself a business surgeon. It's like a business coach, I think. And about a year ago, he and I were out for a coffee, and we were talking about things. And it's 2 years ago. And this is when it was like a pivotal moment for me, because I was pushing in a particular direction. And it reminded me of a conversation I'd had about a year before with somebody, a guy who'd run his business for many years. And he said, to be a good business owner, you have to be a good accountant, a good salesperson, and a good worker. If you're not all three, you have to find somebody who can do it for you. And part of it is, it's like we were talking about doing live broadcasts and representing brands. Part of it is letting go of the reins and saying, you know, I just can't do this. I'm going to have to find somebody to do it. You know, I don't know the first thing about graphic design. Laurie, others may say to me, oh, I need this piece of code doing to do a particular thing, and they have to trust me that I'm going to write that code in a way that is not going to harm their business. I have a client over in America at the moment that is trying to we're trying to get in something, I don't recall off the top of my head, millions of records of personal data. Now, this guy doesn't know that I've been registered as a data controller. He doesn't know that I've handled millions of records of client data in my life. He doesn't know some of the brands I've worked with because I don't name drop. But I mentioned one name to him, and I mentioned the number of records I was managing, and within a heartbeat he said, yeah, we need to get this data over to you. So it's just knowing your strengths. I can't do what Irene does. I know I can't.
I think that leads to the point that brands will do that too. I mean, when they come on board, they want the path of least resistance. If they really decided that this is their year, they're going to get into GooglePlus, they're going to want to match up with some influencers that can help them get engagement quickly, because they're gonna, if they've decided they're gonna put their resources there, that's how they do it. Is they will try to make sure that they hook up with the right influencers. So you want to just make sure that you reach out and you have a great connection with them already. There are brands that I know that are aligned with your show. You should already be following them. You should already be plus oneing their posts and being supportive to them, and then it won't be a huge surprise when they see your show and oh yeah, that'd be great. Maybe I should do this. Sometimes you'll get those approaches. I mean, we've been approached at Interior Design Community many times. So.
Absolutely.
Coming back to your question, Laurie, I think we've actually covered everything that was in the comment stream. I did forget to mention at the beginning, but hang on, we've got another guest. Who's that?
I can tell it's time to wrap up. The dogs are starting to bark.
Okay. But just something I wanted to mention about Plus My Reach is something that we already knew was true, but we've been testing it for the last few weeks. One of the things we do when we run a show is we run a report on the show, of course, and then we go to the engagers and we put those engagers into a circle. Every week that circle grows. Every week we have more attendees, and every week we have more live viewers. So it does work.
Awesome.
Yay, that's awesome.
Right, I'm not going to drop the microphone. I'm going to ask any final words, Irene, before we wrap up.
No, I'm good. Thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
Super excited. I'm just happy that everyone got the information they need. I hope that if you have any questions, you can reach out to us, Irene or myself or Mia or Michael, and we're happy to help you with the Plus My Reach product.
And Ryan, any final words?
No.
Just, Ryan, make sure you mention the last two Hangouts and your special. You're still running it for us, right?
Yeah. Basically, if I do a lot of visual branding, that kind of thing. So if you guys are looking for visual branding and you mention Plus My Reach, I give $100 off my rate. For depending on whatever it is that you're looking for. So we can talk about customized packages, doing your lower thirds, your event banners, video trailers, different things like that. So I just wanted to thank you guys for bringing me on, and I really enjoy seeing the evolution of this brand as it kind of really is. I think it's poised to really move and shake and kind of set the standard here. So I'm excited to watch it and be a part of it.
Thanks, Ryan. For those of you who didn't watch last week or the week before, there's an offer on each of those events. I'll post links in the event page to Ryan's package there, and it's a sweet package. You get everything you need for. Is that bad American? I don't know. In English, you just say.
We don't want to be talking about this package.
We're live.
Well, I'll edit that out later then. It's a great package. Let me say that then. It's a great package. You get a thumbnail for your video, event header, logo, and branding. He did some things for Plus My Reach. Laurie and I looked at it and we thought, you know what? There's things there that we didn't even consider, and that's the great thing about using a graphic designer. And I don't know if this is a good thing to do, Ryan, or a bad thing, but if ever I ask a graphic designer to do work for me, I try and be as flexible and as loose as possible with the remit, the responsibilities. I may say, for example, I would like something blue that signifies freedom, and just leave it at that, and then let the designer, get on with what they do best.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say that it really depends on the designer, but for me, I really like kind of having the creative freedom to paint a picture based on the emotion that you want to convey.
Cool. Next week, or the next broadcast is going to be about contracts, which will be interesting. Again, something I do know something about, but you're always learning. So we'll catch up with everybody next week.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Michael. See you guys.